This is Plaza del Lago, um, and as far as we found a park, so if you come down here and get some ice cream, get a coffee, which I don't recommend because just be careful with your caffeine intake. I would suggest that's a whole other thing. I don't want to be you know, we're getting into, as we get further and further out into the skill space territory, we might get into these sort of things like diets and, things to eat. And, I'm not saying never have caffeine, but all I'm saying is that it is definitely a stimulant for sure. So that's a fact. And it's diuretic. It will dry you out, so you will have lower hydration, and it'll be a stimulant. You will be stimulated. You will have a stimulanted. How do you like that word? A stimulanted feeling. I'm feeling pretty stimulanted. I just had a coffee. So that's the thing. So these are facts. Stimulant and a diuretic. These are facts. So take it as you will. But if you come on down to Plaza del Lago, get some groceries. How about that? Or buy a necklace that you've been looking at or whatever it is. And you could go and do some skill training. Pardon me. I'm getting a little dry myself. You can go down and do some skill. I think that pretty much wraps it up. I would just say my guess is that got to be mindful of our easements. These easements over here. That's between the sidewalk and the street itself. We've talked about these before. It's and these are pretty nice and wide, but it's I would not really set up here unless it's your house, or a friend invites you over to their house and it's their spot, and you wanna, and you're hey, let's go. On this easement area. That's a whole conversation. Some places are going to be stricter than others. Some places pay a ton of attention to that stuff. Some places, pay less of attention. I think a lot of it also has to do with you can, it's always read the room. Sometimes it's what, just because you plan to go skill somewhere, at any point, it could be what, we got there and it was something was going on there, the conditions weren't right. So that's a good lesson for skilling in general, is that you may plan to skill somewhere, but when you get there, it may not be feasible, it may not look good. So to keep that in mind. And the way to, one of the best ways of working that out is basically to have multiple places. So, if you, and that's why it's good to get to know your local area, and be ready with a few options that you want to do, so that if one of them is not able to be, is not available at the time, is not being used, or then you have something else. I mean, it's much more unlikely that if you're okay, I got 3 spots in mind, that all 3 of them are going to be unavailable. But and that gets into basically a I guess one of the main purposes of this whole thing. I'm going to just go this way because we kind of did that. Let's do this way. Try something different this time. One of the purposes is basically it's I don't want to be a freaking out about it, but the idea is you deserve to have skill space available, and that's what we're working towards. It's if you because I know for myself, it's I'll be oh man, I want to go out and juggle. I want to go out and spin some poi. Not because I don't get that because I'm not in the poi thing yet. But actually, I just recently got a flow star, so I was like, I could say like, I'd like to go work on that that flow star. So that kind of stuff. It's like, so the thing that goes, pardon, the thing that goes right after is like, well, so you will feel that, and that's where like the juggle bug. That's where like the that's the good thing. It's like you want to do something. You want to use the equipment. You want to get out. Maybe you've been thinking, or in the back of your brain, your body is like working out a new move, like a new technique, a new way to twist, basically, or a new way to turn. So it's like you got to be ready for when that stuff happens. You have to have a place to do it, so that you can go and do that stuff. And what happens, I found, is that if you don't do it, it kind of starts eating at you. It's like, I need to be able to like I got this thing where I cross my arms and then I throw them at the same time, and then like I'm gonna throw it above my head or something. And like I got it in my head. It's like I gotta see if it works. I gotta see if I can do it. I gotta see it in action, because the image in my head may or may not even be possible. I've definitely woken up from dreams and been like, oh, there's this thing I can feel it, I can see it, but I have no idea. And then sometimes I've done actually, there's one I actually give you one right now. There's this one where, okay, so you put your arm out like this, and then you turn it around like this direction with a ball right here, and then you drop that ball, and then you catch it with the other hand so that's your right hand going like this, and then your left hand is catching it. You drop and catch. So it's like so I was working on things with that. Anyway, if you don't have the ability to like work these things out in physical reality, and you're not like prepared to, it's just not a good thing. That's why like we deserve our skill space, and it's not even something that's like hard to do. We just need to work on it and like have those things. It gets hard in the winter, and it's not an easy thing. It's not an immediate thing. It's much easier to turn on television. It's much easier to look on something on the internet on your phone, which gets me into a whole other thing about how the phones, the devices themselves, are sort of like changing our sort of like physical conversation. Because I just know, like, as I juggled for probably like 10 or so years before I ever had a phone. So it's like, as soon as I start getting this phone, it's like I've got this thing in my hands that I'm like I'm probably not going to want to drop, or not going to want to like only use in this one way. And I'm coming from a place of like, it's like, oh, I can throw this way, I can do this way, so these devices in and of themselves are sort of calcifying our physical like ideas of like what can be, what we can do, in the physical world. It's like, well, this object can only be for this, and that's really like that like works against everything that like we do as skill artists, or whatever you define yourself as. So I've gone on like way some big tangents here. So I almost like want to apologize for opening all that up in this video, because there's that goes off in like, I don't know how many directions, those things that we just talked about open up so many things. But the main thing is just getting back to the skill space, and like that, what this is about is so that you are ready, and you have a place to go do your skill. So that's really the main thing. If you, at the very least, you got your, whatever kind of room you have, maybe you have like a family room, or maybe a basement. That's probably not ideal, but we kind of find these small places to do. But sometimes you do need a larger place where you can really spread out, the next thing that's obvious is just like the rec centers, So I mean that does take a bit of something, because the rec centers are not necessarily, they're built for